So, my name is Søren. I'm coming from Envo IT in Denmark, and we are primarily an MSP. We plant trees on some of our services. I also explained it last year. But we have raised the bar, I think, 7,000 trees since last year. All right. Before I get started fully, this session is also like Rick mentioned for his session yesterday about packaging, that often we have sessions where we anticipate a lot of things to be known. And I have tried to go a little bit back and start a little bit on some of the overviews, but again, maybe later come into some more stuff that is not known for everybody. But let's see. First, I will start a little bit about a story. We in the company, a Friday in April, was out sailing in some racing boats, and on the way home late that Friday, I was listening to a podcast in my earpods. And on the train home, suddenly they changed sound, so it was not with the noise cancelling. They changed over, so I couldn't hear the entire train. And that is not something that I have put on the devices themselves, so I have to pick up my phone and change the setting. And a few minutes pass, and it happens again on the train, and maybe another time. And then finally I get off the train, and I have a 5-minute walk to my house, and it happens 2 times again. And I was like, what is going on with these AirPods? Then I get home, and I put my things in the hall, and then I enter my living room, and suddenly my Apple TV had turned on the TV. And I was home alone, so this was super, super strange. And I was at that point, is somebody trying to tell me something? And it took a few days, and I unfortunately learned this devastating news about this guy passing away. And that really hit me this time. I thought it was super sad. And just so everybody, I don't know if causation and correlation is in any way connected in this thing, but the lawn mower man came up to me in this. But Charles, we try to keep the torch and continue. All right. Last year I talked a little. Last year I talked a little bit about Danish, and it has also been up before, like Norwegians think that whatever we say something in Danish, we are ordering 1,000 liters of milk or something. And I want you to understand what is going on in our language. We have a very specific thing in Danish, because whenever everybody else sees a consonant, depending on where it is in the words, in Danish we will pronounce them as vowels. So an R in the beginning of a name will be pronounced more or less like an R, but if it's in the middle of a word, it can be very, very soft and you wouldn't hear it. It is very unique to Danish, and this is probably the reason why a lot of words suddenly, when Danish people start to talk fast, that you have no clue what we say. So I would like to present 2 words for you this time. And look very carefully when I pronounce these things in Danish. Røde ørder. All right? If you are Danish, you knew when these words were separated. If you are not, you're gonna, what was that? And there is only one hard consonant, and that was the first one. Everything else is just blah, 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 blah. And, but we can hear it in Danish. So, all right. Let's get on to the agenda. I will talk a little bit about MDM protocol. How can we know what is really in it, and where can we see that? Then we usually in the MDM systems have some agent kind of thing that will allow us to do something extra beyond that, and then it all has to be a live demo, and I hope I have lit enough candles and things to make sure everything is working out. I probably forgot something on this slide. I don't know if I have gotten the majority of the MDM solutions that are in use in this house. Jump Cloud, sorry, Central. Damn, yeah, I knew that when I got it. So this is, who are we missing? At least I know 6 of these MDM systems, the 4 others, and including Jump Cloud and Central, I actually don't know them. So, but let's see what we can do about that. What is really the purpose of managing our computers? We want to give a very good user experience to the users so that they can work very easily with the data that they need very easy access to. On the other hand, we also want to make sure that everything is secure, that our company documents doesn't float around here and there, and other things could happen, or you know, if it's not the user leaking these documents, maybe it's some malware coming on. Whatever it is, we want to somehow balance this act. And there is very different kind of solutions. Many people are mostly in the user experience and think that Apple has handled the rest. And then there is some IT solutions where you know, data needs to be secured, and we don't trust the user, whatever it is. But in any case, there are different ways of handling these things. In these MDM solutions that I referred to before, we have what is called the MDM, the mobile device management, or the declarative device management parts. And those have been built by Apple. I think it's very important so everybody understand that Apple is making these APIs that are making managing Macs possible. And Apple has decided that they are in charge. They are the boss at this. This is the way it has to be. If something called themselves an MDM solution and doesn't use the APIs that Apple is using or trying to hack it somewhere else, it's not really an MDM. Maybe it can be used together with a real MDM, but it's Apple's MDM APIs that makes it possible for automated device enrollment and the other things. So just to make sure that the way that Apple has set up these API calls for device enrollment, whether it's user account driven or whatever it is, then is that. Then most of these, or probably all of them, also have some kind of agent. And this agent might have a self-service portal of something, so we can provide a catalog of things, and it is giving them a great user experience in this regards. So according also to Rick's presentation yesterday about these packages, if they are signed and notarized and everything else, we could actually install these packages using the MDM commands from Apple, but often we have to build these packages ourselves to distribute this software or other things. And do we really bother to go around this signing? And should we at all sign a package for someone else's application if it's distributed in a zip archive or something like that? So for that use, we can use the agent to install it, and then we more or less have full control of this Mac. So to start with the MDM part first, Apple has provided some references, and I will show them a little bit here. Let me see. Here it is. At least there's one of these. This is the GitHub, and I have, in this case, gone into this domain, this bundle identifier com.apple.application access, and seen how Apple has described a certain key. This key is, I will refer to it later, but this is a very important thing on iOS and iPad devices, so it's just to mention an example when we look at these things. So whenever we go and see what kind of restrictions or something else that we can put on a device, we actually have a full reference for it. One of the things that I often see from at least some MDM vendors is that whenever they implement something from the MDM APIs that Apple has built, they try to make blog posts sounding like that they have invented a new solution in their system. And so often it is hard to read some of these and really understand, did you do anything extra here, or it is just what you kind of think you can do when you have implemented these Apple APIs. So that can often be a little bit confusing. So this is part of, this domain is also called restrictions. So restrictions is something that actually not that many on macOS, but there is a lot on iOS and iPadOS. The other side might be a little bit more user-friendly. So this is Apple's reference. This time it's not on GitHub, but their own page. And for restrictions, we have all these APIs here as well in the list, and you can read what they do. So often when implementing solutions, we would like to know how do we attack these, and what do we really want to protect against, and what should we do. So, so that's these two web pages that will help us with that. So, as I said before, hold on. Yeah. This is probably the most important setting, so that was one I wanted to use as an example, at least to show here. This reference, this key, is what makes sure that an iPhone or an iPad does not share company data, which is managed data, out into the user space of data. So if you have a managed email account, or you have an Exchange account in Outlook or something like that, and you have to open an attachment, with this key you will make sure that the attachment can only open in the apps that the company has managed. So anyway, these data does not leak. There are other keys that is connecting to this, so if you search for the allow open from managed to unmanaged key, you will find also that contacts can be separate from this setting. And often we don't want company contacts to be spread to the unmanaged side, because that would mean that whenever somebody has Facebook on their phone, then the contacts from the company could be shared into Facebook if it asks for access to that. And we don't have any clue about that, how that is going. All right. So to show a little bit more about the MDM profiles, now they are also a sponsor. I'm showing this page because I think this is a good software. So I had no clue that they sponsored this. This is an application that I use very, very often, and I would encourage everybody to have this for your management, because this is a copy of all the references that exist for how to set up these profiles. For a lot of MDMs, you already have the Apple APIs inside your MDM system, or you probably have them there. If you are missing anything, then you could find it here. If you want to understand some of these keys better than others, then maybe search for them here, so you can know if if you need them, or maybe to learn something more about them, because there are things in here that is they are documented very well on these little identifiers here. So if I wanted to add restrictions to my profile here, I could add these things, and I can see, okay, this is actually on by default, but the user can now turn it off maybe, and if I wanted to make sure that this is always on regardless of what the user is saying to me, I can enforce it. I can also unlock it, and you can see the dot here telling me if this value is set or not. And after I have set up my payloads, the payloads is this column out here, then I can save this profile and upload it into my MDM system. What I have more in this application is not only all the Apple APIs, there is a lot of third-party APIs as well. So you can build an app, and then you can require your app to need settings through this managed framework of preferences that we can deploy, and then it can read its settings from there. So that could easily be done like we have here for Outlook is there. For Outlook, we could allow certain email domains. We can take control of this setting, how external things, links in the mail will be downloaded. What is the first day of the week if we want to preset that? What is the default email domain when the user are enabled in, and all these things. And often some of these profiles is not only applicable on Mac, but can be used on iPhone and iPad as well. So it's iOS, Vision OS, whatever. So if the app is supporting these things, then we can distribute it. So this is one that I use for most of every setup we do in accordance with, if they are a Microsoft customer, then we include this. We also usually use this payload and pre-accept the terms, so the user doesn't have to. And we want them to auto-sign in, so they will not get any kind of, do you want to buy these applications or something like that. We just want them to sign into these applications, and then they should work. So we can predefine these settings and help the user. We can also do something else with a doc payload. In my example here, I will be using Mosul MDM to set up some settings. And what I would like is to have the self-service application of Mosul to be fixed in the doc. I wanted to make sure that the user always know where to find this app. Don't search for it, anything. We will fix it in the doc. Let me show you here. So you can see how the doc is looking right now. There's not much in it. And I want to go here. If I want to distribute a custom profile, I have been logged out. That was annoying. I was logged in half an hour ago, but all right. I have custom profiles. I also have a doc payload here but the doc payload in Mosul cannot fix the apps. I can do something for the first time and something else. I cannot really fix items in the doc if this is what I wanted. So I built this doc profile myself, and then I can deploy it as a custom profile. There are no variables in it. Mosul has a list of variables that you can put into a profile. There's none of those. I just distribute it to everybody. Here. So what happens now is that Mosul will push out this and get it installed. And yeah, it's installed. If you see how the dock is looking, the self-service icon is down here. I can try to drag it out. It will not be removed. It is fixed. In this profile, I also fixed the downloads folder, and I'm linking to the OneDrive folder if that was set up. But at least now we can open the self-service app. All right. So this was an example of why, even though our MDM system might be good enough for a lot of things, that we want to create a very special profile and distribute that. All right. All right, that was the demo. Another tool, and this is kind of vendor specific, the Jamf compliance editor, but it can be used by everyone because it's actually building a folder full of things that you can deploy in your MDM system. And this is for the systems or the situations where you need to deploy some NIS or SIS settings in your environment that can do various things. It's usually part of the security baseline that you would then build up, and maybe this is a bit technical, but at least you can learn about some of the security settings in the Mac OS system by using this tool. The reference for this tool is actually from the website below, syssecurity.org, and they are producing a PDF document that they release, and you can read in there what kind of settings that they suggest to turn on or not turn on for various situations and various settings that you want to have. I'm trying to have another demo of this. Here. So when you turn the compliance, or open the compliance editor, what you do is the first thing you do is you create a new project and you select an operating system that you would like to handle the settings for. It's interesting that Jamf is allowing Sequoia here, because there has not been made a released version of any security recommendations from SIS in this regard. So, but it's not that important really, because it's probably the Sonoma settings moved to Sequoia, and most of those will work. But I think it's valuable to have the reference from SIS security in knowing what is actually released and what is not released. But what you get here, let's say it's Sonoma, and I create this project, and I save it, and then I can select my security level. And at least for what I have used this for, either you think or you know that level 1 is all we have to do, then I only want to look at those settings. Maybe you want to look at level 2, which is most of all of them. And then you can get them predefined in this list. What is really the purpose of this tool is to click on these things and select those or unselect those you don't want. And then you can export everything and create a guidance down here. So I want to just jump into some specific one here, because not everything is totally logic. For instance, if you really want to make sure that all the users are seeing all the file extensions when they are navigating the file system in Finder, then you have to turn this on. And for people that don't know what this exactly is, this is part of the hidden .global preferences plist file that is in the user's own home folder. And this particular setting, if I go over to this part and I say, okay, I want to look at the global. I'm pretty certain I have the global. Isn't it named global here? Global preferences. Can I then choose the file extensions to always be visible? No. Maybe I don't trust this app. Oh, maybe they didn't implement what Apple should have implemented or have already implemented. But I can tell you in this case, this is right. You cannot do a profile to make sure that these extensions on the file names are always shown to the user. What we could do is we could make some kind of script that goes in and set this setting once in a while, every day, every week, whatever, or at every check-in, to make sure that it is always set. It's also some kind of, maybe only this setting is not a performance penalty, but if we start to add a lot, it could be somehow. All right. So that was just an example on that. In this case, they in here have the shell code that you could deploy and say, we want to check how this setting really is and what we expect it to be. We expect this to be true. And how can we fix it? We can go in and say, we want to use default rights to this preference file with this key to be true. This is just one example. All of the other settings are documented equally well. So you can look into all of them and decide if this is something that you want to have implemented. You will probably also get wishes to block certain things that cannot really be blocked. Then you have to find some other way. Santa might be a good idea to have in that case if it's blocking binary executable files, things like that. All right. In the then I want to take this to a little bit of a troubleshooting session as well. And in the last year, I have been working a lot in Jamf. So this is primarily what I did myself to troubleshoot a problem that I had in Jamf. But it could be useful in any MDM. This is not only to this. There was actually, it reminded me this error that I had to figure out, this problem that I had. Because not always is it my fault. It could be the MDM doing something wrong. Oh, you mentioned Jamf. Maybe Jamf could be wrong. And There was 7 years ago a presentation up here from Arnold Christensen, and he mostly said, you know, everything is probably broken anyway, so what can we do? But what we can do is that we can try to learn some troubleshooting measures to know what exactly is going on in this. And that is probably what I think is the most important thing in this, is that we somehow know how we can troubleshoot the solutions and what we can do about it. The problem in this case is that I had set up some computers and users was reporting, you know, we cannot change the local password on the Mac. And I hadn't really tested that. I had enrolled my own Mac a long time ago, and in this setup I have to change the password every 3 months, and at least that came up and I changed my password, but you couldn't do it just by going into settings. This setting that is preventing this has been set somehow, I guessed. So in this case, I also went through another investigation to really look at what is the restriction profile in Jamf, and let me show you some of this, because this is maybe a little bit interesting. Where is my cursor? So the first thing that, let me go back to here. The first thing is this password that I cannot change. What could that be? And just to continue with this, I want to say that the best practice when you create profiles is to only have one payload in each profile. You will always have the general payload, but then one extra. I know it's a little, if you have to do Wi-Fi or network settings and require certificates for that, then you will have more than one payload in your profile. But in order to make them as small as possible, these profiles, we only put one payload in. So I cheat a little bit. I just change everything in this one. So the password could not be changed. And what is the name of a password in this case? Because can I look for the key? Can I, what can I do? What kind of settings? Should I go into Jamf and go through all my configuration profiles that are deployed and what is going on with those? I try to look at password, and when I search for something up here, it will return all the payloads that has the word password in them. And then I can go through all of these. Maybe I have a little history of something, and I can see I have an idea in which area I'm looking, and then I can look at that. I can see that there's something with AirDrop as well, something with passwords, allow modifying passcode. So actually password was not the right one, but at least I was getting to the right pane here. So actually passcode is Apple's use for these passwords or passcodes that we enter on our devices. So what I could look for was, has this setting been set? Is this the one that is really preventing the users from setting this? How could I know if this has been defined on these Macs? And was it really me doing that, or what has happened? So what I came up with is something like this. This command can take all the profiles installed in the system and dump them into a file. What I actually did was I You could also use grep and things if you want to do it in terminal, but let's say this is more or less you run the profiles command with -P, -O, and std out, which is the standard out. It would go all into the terminal if I didn't provide this greater than sign and then write a file that I want everything dumped into. So let's see how this looks. In here, I can run this profiles command. It needs to be root to dump all these down into a file, but I can run this. And now I have them in the file. So I have to look at what is actually in that file, what is going on. And last year, I tried to use bb-edit for my presentation. So even though I kind of think that is a good text editor, it doesn't really provide anything that you can read in a presentation. We need kind of a web browser for that. And that is a joke about Visual Studio Code. So let's see here. It's here. So what is going on in this system here is that I have 21 configuration profiles installed, and now I could look for whatever key I want to look for. Has been anything said about passcode, about password, something else, and then I can actually look in these. If I just give me. If you can look at JSON files, you will get here comes another profile. Why can't I see my, it's here. So I have a profile display name, it's for file vault, this is just an example, and then you can see what all the content is in that. And if you had a key in here that would prevent something from working, then you can see, okay, then I know what key or what profile to look at. It would be my file vault profile to look in. So in the case that I was mentioning before, it seems that one profile I had made in Jamf was actually at the same time enabling in Jamf that the user could not change their password. So I figure out in these lists what key has been set, and I didn't see it. It was not visible in Jamf, so it must have been a bug in Jamf in this case, enabling this. And when I finally found out about this, I tried to change this profile in Jamf and distribute it again, but it wasn't fixed. I had to delete this profile and create another one before it was fixed. So just to mention this as a kind of an example, but I think this command is very, very useful if you need to investigate these kind of things. Let me go back to the browsers here. So I have a Jamf solution, and I can make my configuration profiles in Jamf by in this area here. And I can make a new profile, and if I go down to restrictions, here it is. I just enable restrictions. I have not given it to anyone. I have not changed a single setting. I have not done a thing in Jamf. And then I just save this profile. And one of the things that you can do in Jamf, now it's saved. I can download the profile. So let me do that. We have it here. Oh. That was one too long. Here it is, the profile. It's opening up as untitled because it is signed by the James solution. And then it tells me all the payloads that has been enabled in this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16 payloads in this. And I only enabled the restriction payloads in James. So my point in this is simply to say, maybe it's a good idea that what James did and put all the things that they think is restrictions and put them into one payload that they know, but they are at least not following the payload list that Apple has provided. So when we go in and set up things, they might change a lot of different payloads in just one payload inside James. And this is not to hate on anything about James, because it could be a good idea, but it's just, at least here we can know what kind of settings are being pushed out and what can we do to kind of reverse engineer what this product is really doing. So when I talk about that, basically Apple was the ones that decided what should go into all of these payloads, we would naturally assume that the MDM vendor would make it identical to what Apple has provided. And at least this is not always the case. All right, this is, let's see. So for a little more advanced use of this, I had to thought about, can I also do some kind of scripting to know if a certain profile has reached out to the computer? If I want the user to connect to a Wi-Fi that we have specified, if I want the user to open up Outlook and set it up, maybe I want my script to verify if the Outlook settings has already been deployed to the Mac. And in this regard, they always have, but at least it can be a thing that you can do in your script to know exactly if they have. So if you make a script that runs from the MDM solution and use this up here, it is using grep -e -i, and then it takes a search string, and you can have the search strings defined down here. So if you're looking for a Wi-Fi, it could be called enterprise, and sometimes in these profiles it is quoted, sometimes it is not. That is why they are in square brackets and has this question mark in it. And then we can, and that is also why the grep has -e, because it's using regular expressions. So we can find if the Wi-Fi profile, or at least this Wi-Fi that we want the user to connect to, has been deployed to their Mac. And the same thing we can do if the single sign-on extension from the company portal from Microsoft has been implemented before we ask the user to open up company portal and sign into that. And now it's a OneDrive example out here. I talked about Outlook, but it could be the same thing. And you can verify if these profiles has arrived on the Mac. So once we go into a little more advanced, I also talked about some scripting capabilities here. I want to spend the last few minutes on some of these solutions here. Often, and since I'm also a member of the Installometer team on GitHub, we use Swift Dialog. And Swift Dialog is a very great solution where we're using a shell script, can get some GUI actions going in a window that we can set up and initialize through the Swift Dialog thing. But the first thing that we need to do is to deploy Swift Dialog. And since I'm from Installometer, it's also listed here, we have actually made a script in Installometer to deploy Swift Dialog to clients. There is also other things you could want in your solution. Maybe you want something that will be presented to the user so that at the first time they have enrolled their Mac, we are installing a basic set of tools there. And Jamf has just been releasing their Jamf Setup Manager, which is Armin Briegel's work. But there is 2 open source solutions, a baseline that works in a lot of different MDMs, and Set Up Your Mac that works in a lot of different MDMs. If you are in, I think, Carnegie and Mosul, you have something built in there that can do something. Jamf also has something else that can happen in the self-service bundle, but maybe you want this to maybe have a little better control of this. I implemented Set Up Your Mac in this case using that, but yeah. And what we also maybe want to make sure is that for how long would we think that the user's computers should just be open between reboots? Do we want them to reboot once in a while? How often is that? Apple is a very stable platform. If you have not rebooted in 2 weeks, maybe it's time. And you can use Renew to set up a system that will come up and notify the user it is time to reboot your Mac. And when it is really, really time, then they will be annoyed even more. So we can get these Macs rebooted, and maybe they can avoid some kind of problems with all of this. But let me show you deploying Swift Dialog with our Installometer scripts and a little bit about what we do in Installometer. Swift Dialog is located here, and it's from GitHub, and you can download the latest version. It is in the release section, and then you download this binary that is there. It is a PKG, so once you run this PKG, it will be installed somewhere. One thing that you can do is that you can actually put in a PNG file in a certain position on the hard drive. And when you do that and run the installer, this icon will be copied onto Swift Dialog. So whenever it shows up a notification, it will show it with this icon. So again, if we want to make it a little as user-friendly as we can do, then we would like to have our logo maybe on this or something like that. And then it looks more like us. So this is the same thing on Installometer. If you were using Installometer and had to deploy this with you go to the release section and download that. The version, just so you know, in main here is the current version we are working on. It might not work, we might have broken it, something else. These are not the scripts that you should work on, and GitHub is some kind showing the workspace more than they are showing the releases in the front page. And some people have downloaded the wrong version, but we would suggest to go in and download the latest version. So what you do here is that you see what we have changed in 10.6. And in this case, I either download Installometer as a PKG that we have already signed and notarized, so you can actually get this installed as part of the automated device enrollment procedure. But in this case, I want to see what kind of scripts we have provided. So I would be downloading the source code here. But let me... here. So when you open up Installer-Mator 10.6 that was downloaded as a zip archive, you unzip it and you can open this entire folder inside this text editor. And then we have an MDM folder. And in the MDM folder, we are providing scripts that work in the MDM solutions that we have provided support for and that we have seen as working. And it might also work in other similar things. Usually Jamf is a little bit different than all the rest, that Jamf actually can contain the full Installer-Mator script inside, and then it can be called with all the various arguments when you call it. And in the other MDM systems, we need Installer-Mator installed locally on the Mac, and then we call it using the arguments directly there. So those are the two different kind of, and to be honest, I don't know how Jump Cloud and Central is working with this. If you want to use that, if you have Monkey, then maybe this is not the best solution, and you would stay on the Monkey side. But at least this is one of the things. But in this case, I wanted to show how we could deploy Swift Dialog. And we have provided this script. It's not that I will go through what it actually does, but it connects to GitHub to find the latest version of Swift Dialog, and then it downloads it. It will, if you provide an icon, it will download that icon first before it installs it, and then we can see how we get this icon out in this thing. So I will copy this entire script, and then I will move back to here. I can deploy in Mosul some custom commands. Again, we don't have any variables in this. Now the entire script is in here. I can test this script on a client by adding the device here or something. I can also just approve it. I don't give it a scope or assign it to anyone. I need this icon. So in case of, if you are a Jamf customer and you need the icons there, you can actually copy the link to the icons that you have uploaded in the self-service. There are videos that shows you that. So in this case, in Mosul, if anyone is using that, and other MDMs has probably the same solutions, I have some logos and icons, and we have an icon here. So I can copy the image address of this. This is publicly available on the internet, this image. So I can go over here. Swift Dialog. This icon location is for Adigy if you use that, because Adigy is distributing the icon that you upload into Adigy to this specific location. We don't use that, we use this one. Like that. We can remove if there is an old icon or not, because it will not download an icon if there is already one there. We can do that, so we make sure that it will download always. And just to make sure that I'm not doing anything illegal here, what is actually going on in Finder is that if I go here, in library application support dialog, I want to show you what is going on here. So the dialog.png file needs to go into this folder, and then it can be presented to the dialog software here. And in this case, I can give it to everybody again. So what it does here is it contacts the agent, and then it waits for a result to come back. And come on. That was the demo gods. Didn't like the rest of my presentation. It is, let me see, this was actually the last part of the presentation here, so if this will not show up, they should have. That was annoying. So, if there is any questions, let me know. Otherwise, thank you for your time.